Hey there, beautiful souls. I'm Colleen Lockoff.
And I'm Meredy Lockoff.
And welcome to Spiritual Sisters with Sass, the podcast where two sisters with a passion for spirituality and a touch of sass come together to explore the exciting world of self-improvement.
That's right, Colleen. We embarked on this incredible journey together, diving into different self-improvement techniques, yoga practices, and a whole array of life experiences.
Yeah, and through it all, we've managed to create lives that are abundant, happy, and constantly evolving. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it, Meredy?
You bet, sis. We've got two very different perspectives on life, but that's what makes this podcast so special. I'm all about diving in head first into life's adventures and embracing every challenge with a bit of sass. While Colleen here, she's got her own unique approach.
Yep, that's me. And I'm all about the yoga, mindfulness, and finding my zen. And together we make the perfect balance.
So whether you're looking for some wisdom, a few laughs, or just some heartfelt stories, you're in the right place. We're here to share our personal experiences and insights with you, all while exploring the wild and diverse world of self-improvement.
So grab your headphones and get ready for a fantastic journey with us. Spiritual Sisters with Sass is here to uplift, inspire, and keep it real.
Thanks for tuning in, lovely listeners. Let's dive in.
Spirit and sass. Here we go. So, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining. So here is today, Spiritual Sisters with Sass. We had a last minute cancellation. I'm not going to shit talk unless she cancels again last minute. So I thought, well, we're running out of podcasts, so I better go on. Meredy currently is traveling here to where I am. So I'm in Vancouver Island right now, and the lessons have been grand. And so I thought, you know what would be perfect to talk about today is people pleasing, because it is so prominent in my life. I would say a lot of people talk about being Canadian as being like, sorry, sorry, sorry. Um, and I'm just not gonna buy into that, because I work with people from all over the world. And one thing that I know is that everybody says sorry, and they say it at such inopportune times. So I don't think it's just Canadians. I think this is like in general we have been taught to be polite. And I think that we've actually been gaslit that people pleasing is polite, or that people pleasing is manners. So for quite some time now, I've noticed that I am a people pleaser. And I have spoken about this many, many times within my various like platforms. I am people pleasing in the way that I don't want to cause drama. And the problem is that when I don't want to cause drama, I actually like cause drama times a million. And that's a bummer. So let's just talk about that, because what's happened for me is my daughter had a baby, and I came here to Vancouver Island, and the baby came early, and it's been definitely a roller coaster. This baby is the cutest baby in the whole entire world. I'll fight you over it. She's so amazing. And she turned a month yesterday, and she's still in the NICU. So what has come up from that is that baby has a chromosome disorder, And what we've found out really recently is also that that chromosome disorder is so rare that its name is literally like chromosome 20Q. I can't even remember. I think it's like 11.2 to 13.1 or something like that. Like that's her diagnosis is this name. And they don't know anything really like about it or how it's going to affect her or anything like that. So we have been waiting so patiently for diagnoses to come through. You know, we are relying on the medical system to support us. Baby's on oxygen, baby has several holes in her heart, like baby has a lot going on. And she's learning to feed and she's learning to be alive. Like sometimes breathing is just such a chore for her. And what this does is it puts us at the like the beck and call or like it puts other people in control of our lives. And that's incredibly frustrating. Um, so what happens is like, let's say one day we figure out a way to feed the baby as according to like all these different people. And then the head nurse comes in and says like, here's her feeding plan. You know, says to her mom, like, you're the expert and we're not going to deviate from this plan. So okay, sounds great, right? It's written out, it's in the orders. You think that all the nurses are gonna follow this. And then the weekend comes where there's no administrators and, you know, on-call doctors come in and guess what happens? The nurses don't follow the plan. And so they kind of come in and do their own thing. So, what do we do in that situation? Well, we stand up for ourselves, right? Here's the plan. Here's the way we're supposed to be doing things. And guess how it's met? And this is what's amazing. It's met with animosity. It's met with nurses being dismissive. It's met with kind of, I mean, this is like an interpretation is like, you're an idiot and you don't know what's going on, and I'm a nurse and I know what to do. But there's a deviation. So when we speak up, guess what? Immediately we're a difficult family. And that's frustrating. So what I've noticed, especially with my daughter being the one that's there constantly, that she's the one that has to say like, don't do this or do this or this is what I would like, is that she's really been taught not to speak back. And she is worried immediately that if she talks back, that she's going to have her private room taken away from her, that they're going to be sent to another hospital that has like a communal NICU and NICU is neonatal intensive care unit. So she's worried that if she says something, that this is going to cause like a huge issue and she's going to get in trouble and get punished. And so what this has offered me the opportunity is really to look back at how I've raised her. Like I've raised her on a punishment based system. Do what I say or you get in trouble. And now I know myself to be a more conscious parent, but in no way have I ever been perfect or the best. So I also learned from what I knew. So I would share I shared what I knew, yet there was still trouble. Like if you're misbehaving, you're going to go into timeout. You know, if you're being bad, I'm going to put you in your timeout chair. You're going to go in your room. And so right now, when it's time to speak up to baby, and this is an authority, like the nurses are up a level because they know better, it really brings out all our shit. And even myself, I have difficulty with speaking up. It becomes complicated. In fact, the other day we're really frustrated. It's been a really sad story for my daughter from the being into children's to like, okay, we're gonna discharge you home, but you should be home in a couple days. Baby's off oxygen. Baby's still not feeding, but for some reason they're not really worried about it. And then baby goes to Nanaimo, and all of a sudden they're like, there's some like abnormalities we're noticing, and you're not going to be discharged, and we need to teach baby to eat, and baby's having trouble breathing and put back on oxygen. And so it was interesting to see the transition of how things went from baby being admitted and baby being all good, and then you're gonna go home to like, no, all of a sudden everything is like, it's just the rug was ripped out from beneath my daughter, and it was hard and scary, and it was a lot. And now she's supposed to like speak up and that be okay. So, what happened was the other day, I know I'm kind of all over the place because I was not planning on talking about this. So, I'm trying to gather my thoughts while I'm sharing. Okay. So this happened, and unfortunately, it's not like you get one doctor and that doctor follows you through. Instead, you get several doctors. And one, she gets a doctor for like a week, and then one day this other doctor comes in and she says, "Oh my goodness, your baby's not meeting milestones. We need to send her to Victoria." I mean, we've been in the hospital for a week already. We've had all these conversations, we have all these plans in place, and it's a freaking Saturday, and all of a sudden we're like being ripped out. And so the thing I know is that we had talked about the fact that baby was supposed to stay in Nanaimo, and that if she went to Victoria, things would be way different. We already knew baby wasn't meeting milestones. She wasn't eating, and she's a tiny, tiny, tiny little baby, even though she's not that preemie. So we already know these things, and this person comes in and is just like wreaks havoc. And so immediately we say, no, no, we've already talked about this. We already have a plan in place. We already have a plan in place. We already know what we're doing. We have plans to take baby for a day trip to see how she's swallowing. We have these different assessments. And this doctor that knows nothing about this baby that just came on one day is like dismissing us. No, 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 no. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. We need to take baby because she's not meeting these milestones, and she needs all these other resources that we don't have here, which we had already talked about. So dad stands up and says, no, we've already talked about this. And here's our plan. And the pediatrician says, you don't know what you're talking about. We don't have these resources, and the day trips that are planned are not what you're saying. And the problem with people being in the healthcare system that don't speak medical jargon or understand medical diagnoses is that these big words are thrown around to gaslight people into like they know what's best. And so I'm so glad that I have my background. And so dad tries to stand up and he's kind of shot down, made to feel like an idiot. And I come in, and this is new for me because I don't want to cause drama and I'm afraid to get in trouble. So I stand up and I say, no, baby's not going anywhere. I'm on the phone, mind you. Baby's not going anywhere. Here is, we have a day trip planned for speech language pathologist. We already have an echocardiogram. It's booked while we're in the hospital. Like what you're saying, we've already discussed. Plus, it goes beyond that. Dad works in Nanaimo, so it's a long drive to Victoria. Mom, who wants to be near her developmentally delayed baby, cannot be with baby 24/7 in Victoria. Like there's all these things we've already discussed. And she says to me, Yeah, this isn't about the family. This is about what's best for the baby. And while I understand that, it's incredibly offensive because what? I don't give a fuck about baby. So it's interesting to stand up for oneself, to learn this lesson so deeply, to stand up for oneself and then consistently be shot down like we're idiots and don't know what we're talking about. This is not just the medical system. I'm not here to shit talk. I'm here to share lessons on people pleasing because here's another one that has nothing to do with the medical system, all right? I run an engagement group on Instagram. There's about 20, now 25 people in there. That's a lot of people. There's 25 people's posts that you have to engage with, that you have to like, that you have to share, that you have to send. And it takes up hours during the week. Okay. My time is valuable, especially right now, because I'm driving 3 hours every day to go to the hospital. And then when I'm there, I'm feeding baby, I'm supporting mom, I'm speaking with doctors, I'm speaking with nurses. I'm doing a lot. And to take my time to be in this engagement group is honestly, it's hours and it kind of takes away from the rest of my experiences. So I'm running this group and there's an agreement. If you're in it, you follow everybody else. If you're in it, you like, you comment, you share, and you save. You watch the videos to the end. It's very in depth to be in there. It's hours and hours and hours of your time. Okay. And what's happening is there's people in there that aren't fucking engaging. So they're sharing their posts for me to take up my time to like and do all these things. But I'm noticing that it's not being reciprocated. So I'm spending hours and I'm not getting that in return. And so for me, it's hard to just be like, listen, you agreed to this, so I'm going to kick you out if you don't listen, right? Because I have like my stories about not being good enough and all of this. So I decide one day, I'm kind of over it because my time is very precious and this baby has lit a fire under my ass to stop people pleasing. Because usually I just won't say anything and I'll keep doing it. Or maybe I'll get passive aggressive and I won't like your stuff, right? I'll see it and I won't like it. And then I'll build a resentment. And that's unfortunate because that to move into passive aggressiveness lowers me in my level of frequency. Instead, speak up, right? Something I've learned, like if I don't speak up, I actually cause more drama because I get resentful, I get passive aggressive. And then honestly, like situations that I've had in my life, example, not telling someone I don't want them to buy a property beside me. And the next thing I know, I have somebody who bought a property beside me that I do not like and do not have a relationship with because we had a huge falling out because I tried to not have drama. And the trauma is 1,000 times worse. So in the engagement group, I'm like, okay, I'm doing this. And so I go on and I start to clean it out. Here are all the people. And I even look like they're not engaging with my stuff, but maybe they're engaging with other people's stuff. And I look and they're not engaging with anybody's stuff. So my messaging is that your time is more valuable than mine because I'm a piece of shit, right? Like you don't have time to engage. You're too busy, but I'm not, even though nobody knows what's going on in the background. So I kicked some people out. Immediately, I get messages. Why would you kick me out of the group? So, drama. This is the drama I want to avoid because then, I don't need to speak up. So instead, here's the time to speak up. And I know this is silly little things in my head. Some of these things are pretty silly and I can just dismiss them. But how you do anything is how you do everything. And so what was coming up for me is like, I need to deal with this or the lessons are going to get greater and louder. And right now, my focus is on like, I don't want to people please. I'm a coach. I can't fucking people please. So I say to the very first person, I'm like, I'm really surprised that you're messaging me right now. The reason I kicked you out of the group is because you made an agreement and you're not sticking to the agreement. And then the response was, yes, be realistic. I don't have time to do all of that. I have this, and this. I got to work out. I have kids. I got to eat. Okay. Like, again, your time is more valuable than my time because I have a grandchild in the NICU and I'm driving 3 hours a day to be there for my daughter and my granddaughter and help them feed and translate medical jargon. And then I need to come back and run my business and I need to eat and I need to work out and I do have kids and now grandkids, right? So, like, what's the difference? Be realistic. I am being realistic because while I'm doing all of this, I'm still keeping up my end of my agreements because my word means something to me. And when someone doesn't keep up their agreements, that's their word. And their word no longer means anything to me because, and this is harsh, and I don't fucking care anymore. It's how I feel. You are your word. And I'm not going to continue to bend over backwards and degrade my own self thinking I'm not important. My time is not important because yours is. I am being realistic because I'm fucking doing it. And so I did not say it that way. I'm still working on like that level of like toughness or realness to someone. But I said, like, listen, I'm not even going to get into it or like get into a pissing competition of whose time is more important or who's busier because we're all busy, right? We all fill our time. But what I can say is, I said, I get it, babe, and I'm doing it. And to be in this group, you need to do it. And that's it. So if I put you back in, then you are recommitting to all the things that you said. And that's what happened. And actually, a couple people did that. And I got some thoughtful answers because now that I'm not people pleasing, I'm actually speaking up. It's not as scary as it was before. And so here's the thing that I'm afraid of is people getting mad at me. Like the one person kind of did, right? Because they're so busy. When I hear that, then I think because I'm not. Like I start to add stories to it because I've always been less important than everyone else. I have always been a doormat. And that's on me. That's the other piece is like, that's on me. I've allowed people to treat me like a doormat because I'm afraid to cause drama. So I people please. I don't say anything until I lose my fucking shit. And then I'm just a jerk. Is this resonating with anybody? Is this you or somebody that you know? So these are the examples that I have right now. Like I have another one because when you set an intention, so my intention was like, I do not want to be a people pleaser anymore. Here's how it came up. Like when I am creating my life, when I'm being clear on what I want in my life, what I want is I have three businesses and I want three successful businesses. And so I look at who I am now with three businesses, and then I look at who would I have to be to have three successful businesses. I would have to stop people pleasing because the person with three businesses that are not super successful is a people pleaser. She allows people to sign up for contracts and then try to get out of them. She doesn't, I've never really been a refunder because I have legalities that kind of cover my ass over that, but I do let people transfer and run around and do all this stuff because I do understand like life happens. But the other thing that I'm noticing more and more is that people are not connected to their word. They say things and they don't do them and they don't fucking care because they blame other people instead of taking responsibility. So when I kick someone out of an engagement group for them not keeping up to the word, they get mad at me. Like I'm the jerk. And when I call them on it, they get even madder at me. Is this kind of landing? Like, even if it's landing for like you and this is your behavior, it's okay. You can shift it. I even saw this. So back to it. You set an intention and then the intention is going to come through no matter what. So if I set an intention that I want to be patient, God is going to give me a bunch of lineups, right? So if I set an intention that I don't want to be a people pleaser, because to me, a successful CEO of three businesses is not a people pleaser. She's straight up. She's real. She follows the 8 limbs of yoga that include satya, which is truth. And being nice is not being truthful, but being real is. And you can be real and kind. You don't have to be an asshole. This is what I've been seeing. So yes, I have a heating pad because it's freaking cold here in Canada, PS. So this is what I am seeing. Like I'm nice, but it doesn't fucking matter because I can be nice and if somebody doesn't like what I'm doing, they're still going to get mad at me. So now I'm being real. And that's why I like having agreements. We've talked lots about it. This is why I am now calling people on their word. You are your word. And how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you lie or cancel or don't keep up your commitments to the best of your ability, I cannot depend on you. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes, not all the time. So if you're someone that's constantly canceling, if you're someone that says you'll do things and don't do them, it's not happening once in a while. For me, every once in a while I say I do something and then I can't. And it's so out of character for me that if that does happen, people ask, "Are you okay?" Not, "Oh, Colinne's canceling again. Oh, can't rely on Colin. She always cancels." So sit with this for a moment. And also know that when I set that intention, that then put into place all of this. It put into place a situation where I needed to stop people pleasing. And what's crazy is I come here and I have 2 daughters and I've taught them how to be. So I've taught my kids how to be. And guess what? How I've taught them how to be? I've taught them how to people please. So upon being here, I'm not only, this is how it helps with the 7 generations behind and the 7 generations ahead, is that my kids are able to see me stand up and be kind and be real. And now they can too. I start to see my youngest daughter having issues with family members that kind of push her around and don't listen. And so when we talk, it's like, okay, Siri, put up a boundary. And now this is happening with Summer at the hospital. One day we go in, baby only has one nostril that can take an NG. The other nostril can't. So it's just this one constantly, and she's got oxygen. So a lot of the time, and trying to put shit on a baby's face while they're doing this, so a lot of the time the NG will look like this. And that can start to cause sores. I know, I used to be a nurse. And it's like this, which also you can try when it's pulling like that, it'll clog the other nostril. So baby has issues breathing already. And now we're doing this. And so it's white and I don't think it looks good. And Summer says to me, "Is that okay?" And I'm like, "No, it is not. That's going to cause a sore." And she goes, "But I asked the nurse and she said it was fine." I'm like, "Well, I'm going to stand beside you right now and tell you to go and tell the nurse, since it's your child and you know it's not okay, that you would like the NG tube to be moved so that it is not pulling on the nostril because that is going to cause a sore." Oh my goodness. She's like, "Okay." But totally nervous to do it. And she did. And guess what happened? The nurse was like, "Okay, no more dismissive." So we keep being put in these situations where we need to speak up, where we can't people please. And we also get like, it's not always landing well. Like in that moment, she was dismissed the minute mom came in. And of course, I've told everybody I used to be an ER nurse, 17 years, y'all, went to med school. I'm not an idiot. I have more experience than many of these people here, but not on babies. But I'm dropping that so they know, you're not pushing us around. And so as soon as mama comes in, everybody starts to listen, which is not cool because they won't listen to my 24-year-old who is the expert in this baby. But I've helped Summer to step up and say, I would like this done. I would like that done. And trust me, she's not demanding. If you know her, she's not demanding. She's a little bit nervous of things, but she's not in there like micromanaging everything like I am. Because I literally am like, I am micromanaging this. What's happening here? Can we do this? Can we do that? And there have been situations where someone's gotten mad at me. And that's the one thing that I've always been super nervous about is somebody getting mad at me and then taking it out on my kids. So we had a thing with a pediatrician, and I felt, I was frustrated from them not picking up things in Vancouver to like coming to, Nanaimo and then coming to, at one point, Summer was told baby's being genetic tested to see if she had asthma or um, eczema. Like that was what she was told. And then all of a sudden it was like, no, it's so much more than that. To then being told we're going to transfer you to Victoria to then like to then Summer knew blood work results were back and they just avoided her and wouldn't tell her. So I said, I'm frustrated. You're withholding information. I want this actually dealt with and I'm going to be demanding. And we had a pediatrician come into the room who literally was like with me. And in that moment, I felt her frustration. And most of the time, in those moments, my nervous system will react and I'm in fight or flight. And now I'm going to die and I'm totally freaked out. And I saw hers was, and I wasn't. All I could think of was she came in and she asked what our frustrations were and we shared them. And in the end, you know, we asked for some results that were back on Tuesday, and we weren't getting them till Sunday. So in the end, all of this running around and getting mad at us was just really for being called out. And I wasn't upset. And do you know why? Because here's the kicker, here's the end, because I'm not going to go into this too much more. I feel like I don't even know. I'm going to check in to see if this is okay that I even put this out here. It's already on Facebook Live, but can I make it a podcast? Is like, in the end, I'm afraid to speak up. And so I people please. But there's this other thing of like being real and not people pleasing anymore. And I can still be kind and I can have boundaries and make agreements. And that path is fucking scary. And the first few times I took it, I really did go into fight or flight. Like I shaked. I was quite nervous. And then immediately when I'm done, I start asking like, I actually immediately want to people please like 10 times more to make everything better. And what I've been doing is talking through it. Like Summer and I had a conversation and she brought some stuff up and I responded to it and I told her real. And it's like old stuff. And then I felt guilty. I felt guilty because I was like, I've never talked about this stuff. And now I've revealed too much, and she probably thinks I'm talking bad about someone. And so instead of like, no, that's not true, or instead of sending her, I don't know, a bunch of memes to like get her attention off of it, or instead of like ignoring it or whatever, I actually just went back the next day and was like, I'm so uncomfortable that I said all those things to you. Can we talk about it a little more? I was standing up for her with the pediatricians and all that was going on. And then I said one day, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want you to be upset with me. that I am standing up to these people. Are you upset with me? And she's like, no, I'm so glad somebody's advocating for October. So it's been, instead of actually like doing my old behaviors, what I'm doing is actually addressing it and speaking to it immediately. And what happens is I immediately feel like I am in trouble when I speak up to people, even in the engagement group. After that, I felt like I was in trouble. And one thing that I can do is I run a lot of groups. I do a lot of public stuff is I can bring it up in public and then ask you. And I know a lot of you will back me up. I know a lot of people will be like, no, you're right. And I can't do that because that's seeking external validation. And that's a problem for me. The external validation is the reason why I fucking people please. So whether you agree with me or not, I can't care. I once listened to a podcast by Jay Shetty and Gary Vee, and it's how to not care what people think of you. And he immediately says, you can't care about what they think of you, period. You can't care if they like you or don't like you. Because if you spend a bunch of time attaching to how they like you, then you will definitely attach to how they don't like you. And you'll more attach to how they don't like you because you're constantly seeking external validation. And that hit for me because I run teacher trainings and I run groups all the time. And groups are fucking interesting to work with because sometimes you get like moldy fruit. Someone's not happy with something. And so instead of taking responsibility for it or even having a conversation, they'll shit talk and they'll mold the fruit around them. And then this can be a really shitty situation. And when that happens, I'll take that one person saying I suck and ignore the 29 that say you're amazing. And therefore, I can't listen to the 29 either. I just have to realize all that I've done and all that I've put into my education and my experience and what I'm offering, and know that what I'm offering is valid, knowledgeable, worth it, like valuable without being an asshole and just thinking I'm the greatest. Like it's that moderation, right? It's that brahmacharya. It's like finding that moderation in everything. Which requires, I mean, in general, it requires all of the yamas and the niyamas. It requires svadhyaya, which is self-study. It requires tapa. It requires all of it. Ishvara pranahana, devotion to God to like help you stay on the path and stay humble. Like it's all the teachings of yoga are culminating to like the people pleasing right now. And so do it. Like do it. Put up a boundary, have an agreement, make conversation, call people out in the kindest way that you can, and don't fall back to old patterns. And if you do, just like pick yourself out and go the opposite direction. And the more that you start to create this new neural pathway of not people pleasing, of being real, the less scary it is, the less hard it is. Over this time, I have learned so much. One more story about baby. There's one nurse, she's young and inexperienced. And we had her a few times, and we didn't really like the way she did things. She didn't listen to the care plan. She kind of did whatever she wanted. And then, to be honest, she isn't honest. Like, she makes shit up in her charting. And And so after one day when baby kind of like had a choking spell and she like really lost her shit, like in front of Summer, which wasn't helpful because Summer already loses her shit, we decided we didn't want her anymore as a nurse. And so I was babysitting because I go and stay the night. And Summer says, what are you going to say if, that certain nurse is on? I'm like, that we don't want her, that we want a more experienced nurse. And so I was sitting there and I knew it. I knew we were going to get this nurse. And I know they're putting her with this baby for experience. But one of the things that we've learned, and this is a lesson for me as a fucking nurse, is like this baby isn't anybody's life lesson. She's not here for this person to get more experience. She's a baby. And I thought, I'm gonna say no. I'm going to say we want somebody else. And then I thought about when I was a nurse. Like, you can't just say, I don't want this nurse, because that creates a dynamic that's very unhealthy between patients and the medical field. That means that people can start picking and choosing who their nurses are, and it gets very manipulative. And so I thought, I actually can't. But what I can do is not people please. And that's what happened. So she came on. And I was like, fuck. And I thought, no, I can't do this to the point of like, that's beyond, it's beyond people pleasing, and it's beyond like agreements and boundaries. It's literally like manipulation. This person does need more experience. And I'm experienced in this baby. And therefore, I'm just going to be there to make sure that I'm going to be there to advocate for the baby. And I was. And things turned out pretty good. I think that nurse did accuse me of turning up the oxygen, which I would never fucking do. I would never like just start doing shit as a nurse when I'm a family member. But other than that, it went over very well. I was there to watch what was going on, and I think I made that very clear. And this person was on their best behavior, and yeah, sometimes, I mean, I have been the nurse that's been with newer nurses that something happens and they don't really know what to do. And that really only happens a couple times before they know what to do. So that allowed me more practice of being not a people pleaser, but also being kind. So that's what I've got for you today. I appreciate you joining me and listening. I know I was quite scattered, very last minute cancellation, and I just thought, you know what, we got to do something. And since this is the lesson that I'm learning right now, I would love to hear what are the lessons that you have learned from no longer people pleasing. And thank you for listening, and we'll see you in our next podcast. All right, bye. Thank you for joining us on this spirited journey today.
We hope you enjoyed diving into the world of self-improvement with us. Two sisters who found their own unique paths.
Remember, life is a tapestry of experiences, and it's how we embrace them that makes all the difference.
So whether you're on your yoga mat, exploring mindfulness, or simply navigating life's twists and turns, always keep that spirit and sass alive.
We are Colin and Nerdy Locked Off, and we're here to remind you that happiness and abundance are within reach.
Stay connected with us on social media and keep those questions and stories coming. We love hearing from you.
Until next time, beautiful souls, keep doing the work, keep sharing your experiences, and keep living a life that's authentically you.
And never forget to add a little extra sass to your day.
Spirit and sass, always.